Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again, and it is time to begin our first season with the Goon Squad. Now, for those of you that missed the original Draft to Glory, let me just say it, that for the early stages of this series, it's not about how we do in the regular season. If anything, the regular season is an afterthought. The main point of this series and the main event of each episode is getting to the draft and hoping that we find success with each pick that we make. Of course, we can't really expect to find any success with this team, given that it's absolutely terrible. I feel like that's safe to say. What I am going to do, though, and it's something that we mentioned at the end of the last episode, I'm going to go out and sign, I'm thinking Ben Sherratt. He's one of those players that actually fits the bill, but that we could sign to a max deal for one season. To be honest, I could sign him for more than one season. But we're going to sign him to a max deal. I'll actually drop it down to 14.5. And then that way we'll be close enough to the salary cap ceiling that I actually have the ability to make some moves with this team. We're going to kind of optimize it a little bit. But we're not going to make any other major additions, like adding a Ryan Reeves to this team or anything else like that. We're good. We're going to be garbage no matter what. But I got to admit, number one, I was kind of surprised by the feedback from the first episode. Happy about it. Glad you guys enjoyed that episode. But I did put some thought into it. There were a couple of comments that I kind of agree with, in that we might not have as difficult of a time finding success as I believe there to be. If you look back to the first Draft to Glory, we had some very effective power forwards, some very effective grinders. It could end up being a decent first season for us. The only thing I'm going to change here, we're going to drop Ruop and Nicastro, and I'm also going to call up Siemens and McNeil for the moment. So, Yavenko or McNeil? Who is the better tough guy here? And we're going to go with McNeil. 85 fighting skills. So, Oleg, I am sorry, buddy, but down to the AHL you go. And then as far as our forwards, I don't know if I necessarily want to drop PL3, but I feel like I have to get guys like Tanner Glass onto the main team. So maybe PL3, and we would actually still be under the cap. There you go. Despite those moves, because each of these guys are making $2 million, that is the problem that we are currently running into. So let me double check who else I can sign. Whoever I sign, much like, of course, we just picked up Ben Sherratt, whoever I sign will be AHL exclusive, we'll say. I'm not going to, actually have them play on the NHL squad. It's just going to be the players that we picked up. Now, as far as who's willing to accept a one-way deal, Luke Shen. Not exactly an enforcer, but why not? Just because we're going to have very few options that we can look to pick up. So Luke Shen will be the next guy that we try to bring in here. We have the cap space to do so why not? And we'll keep making quote-unquote upgrades to this team. Of course, simming through the regular season is going to go incredibly quickly. There's really not going to be any drama or anything that we have to follow along with, aside from potentially dealing with injuries. Like I mentioned, the main event is, without a doubt, the draft itself. And I am looking forward to it. I went back through. There are plenty of power forwards, and Nolan Patrick, as I mentioned, was the star of that first series. And I got a feeling it's going to be another power forward who ends up making the biggest impact in this series. Not as if there weren't other player types that actually did really well for us in that initial series, but you get the point. 2 players have to be sent down. We have this group of 66 overall guys. Stortini with 90 fighting skill. They all have 90 fighting skill. No, they don't. David Brohl. We'll see you later. Have fun in the minors. 1 player left. Eric Bolton, the veteran. Zach Stortini, the Neanderthal. No disrespect. And Luke Gazdic. Gazdic, I'm sorry, buddy. I think you got to be sent down. We can't possibly send down Stortini or Bolton. So that is the team. We managed to get Tanner Glass, Brandon Bollig, Eric Tangradi, and others on to the Ducks. Let's go best lines. So it goes Tangradi, Bowl, Glass, Bollig, Jacques, Robinson, Tom Sestito with Rich Clune and Anthony Peluso, Bolton with Stortini, and Jamie Devane, Then our defense is Breen, McWilliam, Brodeur, Bickle, Siemens, and McNeil. Of course, the goaltenders, Musico and Pitton. This is going to be a very poor season for us, is it not? The last thing I want to do is, even though it's not that big of a deal, let's take a look at captaincy, shall we? Of course, you just saw the captaincy for the AHL changed. At the NHL level, yeah, we need to change this. Rich Clune might actually be my captain. I don't know. I'm trying to think who I would name captain and who you guys would probably want to have up there. You know what? Let's go Clune, Glass, and Bolton? Maybe? Part of me wants to give Chris Breen a letter. You know what? Let's give it to Eric Bolton. The last of the enforcers in a way. At least the oldest one on this team will have that leadership trio of Clune, Glass, and Bolton as our captain. And then down at the AHL level, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So let's begin the season sim. The Goon Squad Draft to Glory is, in a way, officially underway, as we'll take care of the scouting. My strategy here is to basically scout Europe 2 weeks at a time for forwards and defenders. I'm not really going to worry too much about goaltenders. Of course, I've had this debate plenty of times about how to handle scouting, whether or not looking at the draft board really factors in. I'm just going to handle it this way for this first season because it is the first year draft. We know a lot of the players, if not the majority of the players, that will be available in this draft. So we don't really have to concern ourselves about scouting all that much as we have our first injury just 2 games into the season. Bowl goes down. We'll call up Luke Gazdick. There we go. Quick and easy decision there. I'll just go best lines again for both the NHL and AHL. Beautiful. Of course, the AHL still has quite a few players who aren't under contract with us. They're under those AHL deals, which I'm fine with, to be honest. I'm hoping that the majority of them retire by the time we actually have enough prospects to fill up both the NHL and AHL roster. That process takes quite a while, so I don't have to worry about it at this point in time. We'll just go best lines. I don't know if it will send down, or it won't send down anybody. I don't know who the healthy scratch will be, I should say. Not too concerned. Again, we are 0-7 to begin this season. That is right on track, isn't it? We'll scout SHL defenseman for 2 weeks. Man, I am stumbling over everything. Dennis Weidman, in a way, a bit of a goon. Punching referees and all. I mean, you know what? Dennis Weidman, I think punching a ref makes you eligible for the Goon Squad. I think it does. He might be a little bit too good. I'll probably send him down to the AHL and then get rid of him after the season. But for punching an official, I think you have earned your spot on this team. Of course, he doesn't even have a job in the NHL this year. Did he technically retire, I wonder? Or is he just quietly retiring? Because, yeah, you don't really have much of an argument there. You punched an official and ended that official's career and ruined that guy's life. So, good on you. Anyway, let's not talk about such serious subjects. This is supposed to be a fun series. And not fun for me, fun for every other team in the league who sees Anaheim on the schedule and knows that's a guaranteed win for the next decade. I'm really starting to think that we're not going to win a single game this season. Our goaltending is, of course, miserable, but unless Brandon Bolig and Tanner Glass have tremendous games, we are absolutely screwed. The fact that the San Diego Gulls are close to 500 is hilarious to me, and they are now a little bit short, 12-12-2. All right, well, through November, 0-25. Lovely stuff, just lovely. Oh, this is fun. I remember this. This brings me back to fun times before we knew of the legends such as Nolan Patrick and others from Draft to Glory. I'm trying to be vague about that series because I do recommend that if you didn't check it out, that you actually go check it out. Like I mentioned in the first episode, probably the most popular series in the history of my channel. Whether this one eclipses that, we shall see. It does depend on our success. But I am a little bit nervous because we have had a couple of series recently where we haven't found success. If you watched those series in particular, you'd know which ones I'm referencing. If you didn't, you should go check those out too. I'm just kidding. The Swedish Nations United and the most recent Montreal series, we really struggled with good teams. Like, we built up some really strong teams and we still struggled. So how are we going to find success this time out? It was difficult enough in the original Draft Glory, of course. Now, here's the thing. For anybody who watched the original series, you will know that, hey, we lost in overtime. Holy hell, we have a point this year, guys. Arizona, you blew it. We have 1 point. Congratulations to the Anaheim Ducks. But you would know that for the first couple minutes of this episode, the first 10 minutes or so, that we can kind of keep it together, keep it on topic, and then eventually we hit the wall of like, oh, we still have to sim 3 or 4 months. What the hell do we talk about? And that is a staple of the series, and I feel like we're already hitting that point. Of course, we're going to stay looking for the stats and everything for the end of the season, and whether or not we led the league in penalty minutes, which you would hope that we would have. So until then, what do we really have to mention, aside from talking about an old series, which I don't want to just sit here and talk about how great the other series was. I want to talk about how great this series is going to be, although the future is looking quite bleak. At the moment, we have 1 point. Cedric Paquette, are you goon enough? Is that a thing I can say now? Are you a big enough goon? 4-star physical category, 1 year left. I don't think you're a big enough goon, but I'm still going to claim you. Now, in the original series, I would not claim anybody on waivers, and that's still going to be a thing, right? I'm still not, in a way, at least going to claim players on waivers that we're actually going to use. I'm just doing that to fill up the AHL team a little bit and to change it up. It's not going to affect this series whatsoever. We have already clinched the best odds for the number 1 overall pick, and there's really no guarantee that we're actually going to make it. The only thing it could change is whether or not, I suppose, we find success at the AHL level, which took us a very long time to do in the original series. So for now, let's take a look here. We have to call up a defenseman, and that will be Yavenko. And for forwards, we're going to drop Jamie Devane. Correct? There's no one here that I'd otherwise want to drop. No, we're good. All right, Jamie Devane. Sorry, buddy. Have fun taking a seat. And, of course, we will not call up Cedric Paquette. David Brohl, though, is actually a better overall than Clune and Bolton, who I both want to keep. So I'm actually going to send down Gazdick again, and we're going to call up David Brohl. Could you imagine if Gazdick was claimed on waivers? A lot of these players, too, have dropped in overall. Tanner Glass is down to a 69. Nice. Let's see. Devane, Paquette. What a beautiful team. What a beautiful team that will never win. Well, I can't say the San Diego Gulls won't win a team. The NHL team, though, that remains to be seen. Although there is a pause here between this game against Edmonton. Will it be our first? Nope. Okay, well, there goes that. Wishful thinking, right? Xavier Wallet. Definitely not a goon. Decent enough checking. 70 fighting. We will pass on getting him. And as far as the rest of this goes, we still have the Swiss League, the defense, to scout for 2 weeks, and we have a win. We have won a game. The San Jose Sharks. How bad are you to lose to this team? It finally happened. They've won 19 games this year, so they're not exactly a top team either. We have 3 points this season, guys. Can you believe it? 3 whole points. My God. I'm feeling good now. Never mind. About our luck, we're going to be a playoff team within like 2 years. We have 2 wins. Oh my God. Never mind. We're going to win the Cup within 2 years. As we beat the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. Tremendous stuff. Will we get to 5 wins? We have about a month and a half to go. Do you think it's possible? Or will we cap out at 2, maybe 3 wins max? We may just have a chance to pull off a miracle here. As, of course, we go right through the trade deadline. It's official. We haven't made the playoffs. I am shocked it took that long for it to be confirmed that we were out of the playoffs. We're 260-2. Why did it take that long for us to be mathematically eliminated? Some other teams must really be underperforming as the injuries continue to add up. Because of that, I'm not exactly liking our chances. Weidman's back for the Gulls. We have some more scouting to take care of. Lovely stuff. We'll go defense for 2 weeks. I think with the WHL, the OHL, and the Q, we might spend like 3 weeks per if we had the time. We just lost 14-0 to Detroit. Tremendous. At least we scored a goal, though. We scored 2 of them after being shut out in 3 consecutive games. We were outscored 24-0 over the course of 3 games against Vancouver, Detroit, and New Jersey. That is just spectacular. Let's see here. So, WHL for 2 weeks. Maybe just 2 weeks. And if we have any extra time, that is where we will focus our scouting. The big question, of course, for these early episodes will be whether or not we end up losing the draft lottery. That could be devastating for us. I brought that possibility up in the first episode because we have seen, particularly on Twitch, how often a dead last place team, as we finished 278-2, we have seen how often we could end up with the number 4 pick even. That's been a very common occurrence. We'll see if that ends up being the same thing for this series. Eric Tangrady, 48 points. I did not expect that at all. 48 points for our leading goal scorer. That is tremendous. Job well done for Eric Tangrady, minus 81 on the year. David Brohl, of course, did not play a full season. He had 7 points in 20 games. He was a minus 25. And Jean-Francois Jacques, oh my God, 44 points and a minus 71. How did you put up 41 points? That does not make sense. Think of some of the great players we have had in prior series who have had like 90 offensive awareness that struggled to put up 30. And we just had Jean-Francois Jacques put up 44 points. Brandon Bollig was a minus 84. He had 12 goals, though. Same for Jared Boll. He was a minus 87. Buddy Robinson with 19 points. Anthony Peluso was a minus 90. Tanner Glass was a minus 91. And Tom Sestito was a minus 92. I wonder who the worst player on the team will be as far as plus-minus goes. In fairness, these plus-minus numbers are not as bad as what we would typically see, of course, with the normal, as we'll call it, Draft to Glory setup. They are a little bit better, but I am still going to be surprised if nobody managed to hit the wonderful minus 100. There we go. Never mind. We're good. Chris Breen, minus 126. Of course, the defenseman will have worse plus-minus numbers. So far, we're 3 for 3. Make that 4 for 4. Stu Bickle, though, 19 assists. Duncan Siemens, in fairness, only a minus 90, but he didn't start the season on the team. He missed 5 games, so you never know. And then Oleg Yavenko was a minus 27. The big question, Musico and Pitton, did either finish with an above 850 save percentage? Let's find out. 845 for Musico, and for Pitton, an 829. Now, you might have assumed I was kind of lowballing my guess there. No, no, we kind of knew what to expect, and Reed McNeil finishes with a minus 79. Tremendous. As far as the AHL stats go, who really cares? I want to take a look at league-wide stats. And then it's pretty much just a straight shot to the draft. Of course, we'll take a look at the awards once the season is over. But the big thing will be penalty minutes as a team, and the big thing will be individual penalty minutes. So we finished with 6 points. Ottawa had 60. Tremendous stuff. We scored 119 goals. The second fewest, 190. We averaged 1.45 goals for per game. We allowed 524 goals. The second highest number was Calgary at 270. We allowed 3 more goals per game than Calgary. 6.39 goals against per game. Our power play was somehow not the league's worst. How did that happen? A 16.4 for the power play. Our penalty kill, though, was an abysmal 67%. We won 1 game at home, 1 game on the road. Not too shabby. The question is, how often were we on the kill? We were shorthanded 324 times, nearly 100 more power play opportunities for our opponents than Boston. This is tremendous. So far, the Goon squad have lived up to their names, but I'm shocked, man. Eric Tangradi, 48 points, and Jacques with 44. We might have found a combo that are simply, or a pairing that are simply too good for what we are attempting to accomplish here, which is to be, well, in fairness, we were still absolutely awful. Gino, 99 points, 93 for John Tavares. The best plus-minus in the league was Brent Burns at a plus 38. The worst, well, take a guess. Who do you think it's going to be? It's going to be one of our players. It is Chris Breen, a minus 126. I do wonder, who is the first player on this list who is not an Anaheim Duck? Who is the worst? Nick Foligno at a minus 29. Petrovic as well at a minus 29. Foligno, what happened? How bad could the Sens really be? It used to be a Sen. Penalty minutes. Who's going to be the king? It's Ryan Reeves. All right, well, someone signed Ryan Reeves, and he was pretty pissed about not being on the Goon squad, apparently, as he gooned it up that much more. Mark Borowiecki was there as well. And then we have Brandon Bolig. Jake Dotchin was up there. Of course, we knew he was good enough to be on the Goon squad, but he was too good in terms of overall. Andrew McMilliam was there as well. I am tremendously disappointed. Ryan Reeves has stolen the one award you'd think we would have been able to win. Most penalty minutes for one individual in a season. Ryan Reeves has stolen that away from us. Did we at least have the guy who led the league in hits? We did not. Brent Seabrook killed it. Literally just killed it. It as in everything. 215 hits. Tanner Glass was at 181. As was Ryan O'Reilly. Fights, though. Fights? Jesus, Ryan Reeves. I guess we got to trade for Ryan Reeves now. Borowiecki, Dotchin, and then finally we have Bolig with 16. Andrew McMillian at 15. Bull, Klum, Peluso. Then we start getting into our players. Johnny Boychuk, though. 12 fights. Way to go, Johnny. What a season for this team. We lived up to all poor expectations, as you would have expected. And the problem with our minor league team is they weren't complete garbage. So as far as looking at the stats for them go, it doesn't really matter. Of course, we ended up getting certain players like Luke Shen, Ben Sherratt, who helped out the team a little bit. Of course, the goaltending was still awful, but they weren't going to be historically bad like the Ducks were going to be. So let's go ahead and sim to the end of the playoffs. We'll take a look at the awards, and then this episode truly gets started, as hopefully the game didn't freeze. Okay, good. Then the game truly gets started as we will get into our first draft. Like I said, the big question, the big moment of this episode will be whether or not we get screwed out of that first overall pick. If we do, I don't think it's the end of the world. While there are some players like Anderson McDonald might fit the bill as a power forward, I think it was Sokolov who was there as well. While there are some power forwards that we'll more than likely end up with, we're going to get somebody who, fits the theme of what we're doing here. Not to mention, in the later rounds, we'll definitely end up with a couple of enforcers, as we saw there were a few of them in this draft. So I'm feeling confident as far as having a quote-unquote successful draft for this first season. It's just a matter of whether or not in the future, once we start getting into all the, game-generated drafts, whether or not we can somehow get a power forward at medium franchise. That would be a game changer for sure. At least medium elite, high elite potential. As I mentioned in the first episode, the draft lately, they have absolutely changed something. There haven't been any patch notes on it, but they have absolutely changed something with the draft, and that could really help us out. Not to mention, I've actually seen some enforcers who have been like medium top 4 defensemen, medium top 6 forwards. That could be a pretty big game changer for us too, if we get someone kind of like Terry O'Reilly style, right? Someone who can still put up goals, but just punch your face. So that's good. Nashville won the Stanley Cup. Let's go ahead and take a look. No, I don't want to back out of the mode. Are you kidding? Why would I want to do that? Let's take a look at what a Stanley Cup winning team looks like in this world at the moment. The Nashville Predators. I don't care that Arizona have lineup problems. What? That's not my team that I'm worrying about. What the hell? What the hell is this? EA, no, I don't care. Can I just tell them to go best lines? Fine, you go ahead. What the hell is going on? The game just crashed. Tremendous. So thankfully, the game managed to autosave at the end of the regular season. So we didn't lose anything, although the Nashville Predators may have just lost their Stanley Cup, which, who cares? Thankfully, I don't have to sim through the entire season again, or just restart the episode in general. I am quite happy about that. So let's go ahead and hope, I swear to God, I thought it was going to freeze again. Let's go ahead and hope it doesn't crash, and we may just be able to get to the draft sometime in the year 2017. Potentially. That's the goal at this point. I can't believe it crashed. That was so weird, though, how it showed Arizona having an incomplete line. So I'm not going to try to look at Nashville's team from that menu, at least. I'll go look from the team stats page instead. Usually I like to look at it from that, view so that we can see what the line combinations were at least. But yeah, let's just avoid that this time, shall we? The question is, who will win the Stanley Cup? Will the Nashville Predators win it twice, technically? Or will we see different champions? I'm interested to find out. I'm more interested to see if I can get to the draft. I am so paranoid now that the game's going to crash again. It's a very scary thought. The Predators did end up winning the Cup again, so just flat out, the Nashville Predators were the top team this year. God, whenever it pauses like that for a second, it's just, it's scary. I don't like it. It's freaking me out. Let's hit stop simulation. We'll take a look at the awards. We'll try to take a look at Nashville's team, and then we'll get to the draft. Let's do this, shall we? What does the Predators lineup look like? What does the Predators team look like in general? Can you tell how anxious I am that this is going to crash again? They had Vladimir Tarasenko, so that's pretty much all you need to know, I would say. Tarasenko, Radulov, John Carlson, Yuri Hudler, Henrik Zetterberg, Vincent Trocheck, Kyle Turris, Dustin Byfuglien. It's a pretty solid team. Now Yakupov, congratulations there. Jeff Petrie and Bo Bennett. In goal, Corey Schneider. That explains a lot now, doesn't it? Wouldn't be surprised to see him take home the Vezina. Speaking of player-specific awards, let's take a look. The Art Ross goes to Geno Malkin, as does the Hart. Alex Pietrangelo wins the Norris. Tyler Sagan, the Lady Byng. Brock Besser, the Calder. No real surprise there, I suppose. The Conn Smythe goes to Schneider. Holtby wins the Vezina in Toronto. Marc-Andre Fleury, the Jennings. Chris Breen won the Masterton, though, which, for all intents and purposes in this game, the Masterton pretty much always goes to the player that ends up with like the worst plus minus. So this is kind of the, hey, good job, boy, you sure played in the NHL this season, didn't you? Award. That's pretty much what it is. It's the award that made Chris Rumble a legend on this channel. Ryan Getzlaff with the Selke. The Ted Lindsay goes to Malkin, as does the Rocket Richard. So Evgeny Malkin had a very strong season. Did we take home any hardware at the AHL level? Level? I don't know what the hell a level is. I was looking at Weber, and I said level, and it came out level. Wright, Laurent Brossoit, Matt Reed, Rhett Rakshani. Great name. And no, that's pretty much it. No hardware for us. Not even the quote-unquote worst player in the league award, which is incredibly disappointing. Eric Tangradi is a 76. He was a 72, wasn't he? Hold on. We got to look at player progression really quick. Or really quickly, I should say. Did he improve? Cedric Paquette did, but that's not a major factor. Yeah, see, he's a 72, but through statistical growth, he's actually a 76 at the moment. I mean, I'm not surprised, given he had a 40-point season or whatever, but still, he's a bit too good. Not good enough to carry this team to victory, but he's still a bit too good. Let's move forward to the draft, shall we? It's what we've all been waiting for. Let's take a look at who the very first draft pick will be in this series, and we lost the lottery. We have the 4th overall pick. Philly, San Jose, and Edmonton. Shocker. End up with the top 3 picks. We will have the 4th overall selection, which is incredibly heartbreaking. And from the looks of it, we will not lose anybody to retirement, which is kind of shocking given how bad we were this year. Okay, I was going to say a couple of players retired. It took a little bit for it to load in, but still, the trend of only a few players retiring. Only one player in the league retired. That was Derek Engelland. Other than that, nobody else left. That's just a little bit odd, don't you think? But I suppose it is what it is. Let's clear out the trade block so that we don't get bothered with certain offers that we cannot even entertain. Trading will eventually factor into this series, but that is way down the road and still doesn't involve trading for players. So as far as, like the stereotypical, well, not stereotypical, but just your standard trading in a franchise series, that's not how we do things with this series. But again, don't worry about it. That's not going to be a factor until we end up with more prospects than we can afford to sign, essentially. So for now, we move on. The trade block is clear. The time has arrived, from what I can tell, unless the game crashes again. There we go. We're good. Let's do this. Our first draft with the Anaheim Ducks. Our first draft for the Goon squad. And we'll take a look at the draft class here. Who are the top 5? Who's it gonna be? This game seems like it's just loading so slowly right now. It's really freaking me out. All right, so the top 5, thankfully there aren't any players that we can really even entertain selecting here, so it kind of worked out for the best. The best player that we can really look at here is Anderson McDonald, 6'2" power forward from the Moncton Wildcats. Kind of expected him to maybe be our first selection here. As far as other players go, we would potentially be able to take Igor Sokolov from the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. Who else do we have here? If we're judging it solely off of player type, which I think is the way we're going to go, there's also Ryan McLeod. So Anderson McDonald would be our first selection no matter what, which works out. If this was a straightforward draft to glory, we would more than likely end up with Philip Zadina or Ryan Merkley. That is not the case. So for now, let's go ahead and sim to our pick. Of course, Dahlin, Svechnikov, and Veleno are your top 3. And with the 4th overall pick and the very first draft pick in this series, my God, is this game loading slowly right now and freaking me out in the process. Our first pick is going to be Anderson McDonald. Again, from the Moncton Wildcats and formerly of the Sherbrooke Phoenix, from what I can tell by that jersey. He is our first pick. A medium top 6, 60 overall. He will be a member of the Ducks next season. That is the one thing that we could really... There's only one way we could really debate that is, do I think they'll develop better without being signed? Do they develop better in junior? Or would it just be best to have him on the NHL team from the beginning? And there's an argument for all 3, I would say. And actually, you know what? Let me know what you think. Do we start him on the NHL team? Do we sign him and send him to junior? Or do we just leave him as an unsigned player? As far as anyone else here, it's not like I'm expecting to see any major steals or anything like that. I don't think I've looked past anybody. But I know some people like to see how the first draft plays out, so let's just go ahead and keep on scrolling. Sokolov would not have been a better pick, nor would McLeod. 5 overall points less. Onyebuchi. Still love that name. Still love that name, and that brings us to our next selection. Unfortunately, Nando Eggenberger is off the board. Tremendous name. As far as enforcers, we know that we have a couple in this draft. We'll, of course, look to target them. And actually, let's take a look here at where those enforcers are projected to be drafted. That is a pretty crucial bit of information to have. Of course, not that defensive D-men aren't eligible, but if we go for the enforcers, which is absolutely the goal, say there's 3 enforcers in the draft, then we know our final 3 picks are going to be used on them, and then we look for other players as a result. Holy hell, I guess I should have had it still sorted by 2 ways, and I'm definitely going to have to call a timeout. So we have 3 enforcer D-men, Ball, Alcock, and Galley. I really want to end up with all 3 of them, and they're all projected to be undrafted, so we have 3 enforcer D-men. And then when it comes to forwards, let me just go to right wing instead. When it comes to enforcers, I believe they're at the top of the list, or they're supposed to be. Maybe, possibly. Damn it, how far am I going to have to scroll to find them? Are they on the other side of the list? I am off my game ever since this game crashed. 1,000%. There we go. It's Chung. So we have 4 enforcers in this draft, which means I have a couple of free selections that I can make here. So let's take a look. So again, 7th round, 6th round, 5th round, 4th round will all be used on those enforcers. So we have 2 selections here. We have a forward. Probably best to look for a goalie, and now would be the time in the 2nd round to try and find a goalie. Not to mention potentially a star defenseman, considering I'm not really expecting much out of those defenseman enforcers that we will actually be drafting. Of course, the one downside to this is not being able to scroll through. The defensive D-man, 6'2". You're not quite a big enough goon. There is this goalie Jim Miura who will probably select here. Of course, these 2 guys are exact bottom 6, so we'll avoid them. We have another power forward in Connor Roberts who would definitely fit the bill. He and Anderson McDonald could be the future of this team. Ponikarovsky is 6'4", but a 2-way. Alexis Gravel as a goalie. I'm not sure how good he is in this game anymore, and whether or not they've improved him. There's also this other power forward, Will Kushnierik from the Kelowna Rockets. So do we go goalie, or do we go with Connor Roberts? I'm thinking Roberts is probably the favorite here. What was he, 6'4", 215? Pretty much a beast. And then this Kushnierik at 6'5". Definitely have options. Berglund is a 2-way. And the defensive D-man, the German, 6'4", Rainier Pielmeyer. Tremendous name. Just not sure how highly rated he would be. Again, I'm not all that familiar with how EA has the roster set up, considering, I typically edit everything, and I'm not doing that this year. I'm not as familiar with the default ratings. Adam Jennings is also 6'4". I mean, we have some candidates here. We do have some candidates. But considering we're taking 3 defensemen later. If I look at goaltenders, there's Miura, there's Gravel, Toby DeMaio, Daniel Polzel, then the 3rd round, Lassi Lettinen, this 6'4" Finn, Justice Anuen, hell of a name, and Dominic Pavlat. Right, not to mention Jakob Skarik. Don't know. So if we don't go with a goalie now, it would probably be Jim Miura, because I know Alexis Gravel is real. He is not. We'd end up with one of these 2 Finns. So do we go with the goalie now? I'm going to take a goalie and another forward with the next 2 picks. Also, is this guy's name Bruce Lee? Please let that be a thing. It's Brian. Damn. Damn. All right. I know Miura is going to be good. That's the problem. I know Miura is going to be good. It's just, is there a forward in the third round, or projected in the third round, who will still be on the board at that point in time? Jennings could make it. Popowich, I suppose there's a good chance of Tyler Popowich making it. McNabb, I'm not too worried about. Stadler, we'd want to avoid, just because we have exact potential for him. Then there's Saron Noel, 6'5". I do suppose there would be other forwards we could actually select. So I'm going to go with my gut here. And I know he's not like a beast of a goalie, but again, for goaltenders, we pretty much had no choice but to just list it as I can select whoever. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, I'd probably have to take the goalie here, who I know is going to be a little bit weaker than Miura. At least I can assume would be weaker than Miura. Do I go with the 6'4" goalie or the 6' Jim Miura? You know what? I'll go for the Finn. Plus, his name is Justice, so why not? With that said, Connor Roberts is going to be our second round pick if this game didn't crash, which I'm so concerned that it did. It did not. As far as other options, obviously Kushnierik is an option, but I'm going to go with the familiar face in Connor Roberts. I've seen how he kind of develops, and he does develop into more of a physical kind of shutdown player. At least he did before. Will he now? That's the question. Connor Roberts is the pick. Medium top 6, 53 overall. We'll see who we potentially passed up on here. Kotkaniemi wasn't a concern. I'm just going slow enough so you guys can see who we passed up on. Ponikarovsky was medium elite, 53 overall. If I miss like a crazy good overall or something, let me know. I'm more intrigued by the goalie that we passed up on. I'm also more looking at player types. Miura was actually medium backup. Wow, so we dodged a major bullet there. Damn, and that is one of those moments that we might be able to look back on in this series and say, wow, how differently would this have gone had you made that mistake? That could be a huge moment for us. Again, we know that we're taking those other enforcers, so let's go ahead and select the goaltender. Now, in future drafts, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a ton of enforcers. There might not be any enforcers, in which case every pick is a free pick. We're going to hope, though, that this goaltender here, Justice Anuen, is good enough. I mean, I could double check to be like, hey, where are other like ridiculously tall Ben Bishop style goalies? Which so far, it's not looking too good. Although this guy's name is Nussbacher, which is tremendous. You know what? Yeah, that's who we're going for. We're going for Justice. 6'4" Finnish goalie Justice Anuen. 18 years old, listed as low backup, and is medium fringe at a 55 overall. That is not terrible. He is almost the best goalie on this team already. And if he develops as a medium fringe Ken, there's a good chance he'll end up being, like a low 80s goalie, which is what we're looking for. Now, there isn't necessarily a rule that says I have to take all enforcers, but considering how some of these other players are turning out, it would probably just be a safe bet. Like, maybe we'll get lucky. With some random power forward or whatever. But, let's just go with the theme. Let's take the enforcers and hope that we can essentially punch our way to victory in this series. As far as other players here, you have this trio of defensive D-men. Tursunbayev could work at 6'3". There's no giant, though. Marty Osborne would actually be a relatively interesting pick. Who else do we have here? The power forward, Nolan Hutchison, could actually be half decent from the Sudbury Wolves, but I would have a feeling with his current potential, he wouldn't be that good at all. Jerry Knubel, 6'4", son of Mike. Hopefully, obviously it's not a real player. I'm just saying. Shout out to Mike Knubel. Anybody else? Austin Pratt, 6'2". Yeah, I think we're just gonna go for the enforcers. Although, how could we not want to select Trey Fix-Wolanski, the best name in the draft? There's this power forward, though. Quinn Ewell from the Ottawa 67s. I would be more intrigued by these players if I knew that they weren't real. That is when, or actually, I'm assuming he's real, seeing as he's listed as being on the Ottawa 67s. But yeah, I don't know. I just have a feeling they're not going to be that good. So with this next pick, we're going to take 6'6", 227-pound enforcer Reginald Chung. Big Reg, as we're calling him from now on. Get that on a jersey. Anaheim, number 69. Big Reg. 49 overall, low AHL top 6. Tremendous. Oh, tremendous. Our first enforcer pick. It is Reginald Chung. Big Reg, as he is already affectionately known. See, that's the thing. I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical or maybe not too pumped about this concept. I'm intrigued because now, really, again, while there's not a rule that says I have to take the enforcers, I'm intrigued because now those picks were, like the top 3 picks that I made, for example, those become that much more important if I'm going to go out of my way to select enforcers for the rest of the way. It becomes so much more important. I also should have pinned these players when I first looked them up to begin with. Lesson learned. So we wouldn't have to sit here and scroll through every damn name under the sun. There we go. So we have Kevin Ball, we have Alcock, and Galley as our last 3. We're going to take Kevin Ball first. 6'5", 233-pound enforcer from the Ottawa 67s. He was highly rated in this game at one point. Not anymore. Not sure what happened, EA, but yeah, he is not all that highly rated. He also wasn't an enforcer before, so they definitely changed that. He used to be a defensive D-man. 55 overall, medium AHL, top 2. Tremendous stuff. Do I want to scroll back through here? I mean, there might be a couple of steals. I'm not seeing anything crazy with the overalls. Like, you have a 61 there. All I'm doing right now is just looking at the overall numbers. Like, there's nothing too crazy. I think the craziness will start after the first couple of drafts. But this team is going to be fun. At the very least, this team's going to be fun. And at some point, we're going to have to play a game or two with this team. Once it's all set up and we have nothing but enforcers, we're going to have to jump into like a third period of a game and just destroy some people. So let's take a look. We have our last 2 players. Please don't crash while it's sorting. It's not even sorting. Can I look at my pinned players, please? Thank you. Let's go for Galley next. Dalton Galley from the Medicine Hat Tigers. 6'5". He's a monster. I'd like to draft him, not Alcock yet. Thank you very much. Low AHL top 2. 65 overall, though. That's not too bad for a starting overall, considering what the rest of the team looks like right about now. If we didn't have the enforcer gimmick and we just took the lowest overall players regardless for the first season, then he would probably be our best starting defenseman already, which is pretty sad. So let's see here. We have one more player to go for this first season. It is Jack Alcock, only 6'2", still listed as an enforcer, though. You never know. He might be half decent. He's not. Medium AHL top 2, 50 overall. What a draft for this team. The future is now the beginning of what I hope to be an incredible series. I mean, we are underway here. Anderson McDonald, Connor Roberts, Anunen. Depends on how much emphasis you put on the double N. Paulie, or some other Finnish viewer. Help me out here. Reginald Chung, Kevin Ball, Dalton Galley, and Jack Alcock. At the very least, we have some of the best names in the league. I think that is, indisputable. So normally what I would do is I'd sim to the start of the regular season. We'd have the team good to go to begin the sim at the very beginning of next episode. But I want to know your opinion. What do we do with these players that currently aren't signed? Do we just end up doing what we did with the original draft glory and just sign everybody? Or do we leave some players unsigned to see if they develop? I think, personally, I would probably go with just signing everybody. Speaking of which, we're basically going to have to do anyway. But I think I would go with just signing everybody. And then in the future, now that we know that players are supposed to be able to develop without being signed, that could then help us out. So say, for example, these guys, we just drafted them, but we already had a full team at both the NHL and the AHL level. We could then leave them unsigned and see if they actually develop. Whereas at the start of this series, it might just be for the best to put them all on the NHL team. We shall see. Galley, 65 overall, is the highest, and Big Reg at a 49 overall. What a monster. Let's actually take a look at the stats here. In fairness, Reginald Chung's not much of an enforcer. Not yet. Only 75 fighting skill, 80 strength. He'll get there. 80 strength at 6'6", huh? Damn. Hit the I'm not going to tell someone else to hit the gym. Not going to do it. Jack Alcock, the exact same stats. A slightly better shot, but less body checking. Connor Roberts. Actually, not that great of a physical category. Skating is his best attribute. He'll get there, though. Don't worry. Kevin Ball, 75 fighting skill already. That's not too bad. Anderson McDonald, not much of a goon. Probably going to contribute more from an offensive standpoint. And then Dalton Galley, 81 body checking, 87 aggressiveness, 82 fighting skill. He might have to be our captain. I mean, just look at him. He's majestic with 82 fighting skill. Let me know what you guys think about how we set up this team for Season 2. That is Season 1 in the books. That is Episode 2 in the books. Season 1's in the books. Everything. It's in a book. Read is what I'm saying. It's good for the brain and the mind. I told you, rambling becomes a factor at some point. Welcome to Draft to Glory. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you know what you can do to support the video and the channel beyond, of course, watching the video in the first place. And for that, I am already grateful. Links are in the description to my Twitter and Twitch. Give me a follow on both of those platforms if you haven't already done so. And until next time, guys, have a good one. Take it easy. I'll catch you later.